Hi, I'm Jan Aiello. I know you from church. We often do heifer crafts together in Sunday school. This is the clay cross video. I'm going to show you how to mix some Elmer's glue and also how to use some Crayola markers for this craft. Okay? Elmer's glue is actually strong enough to build a house with, so I'm going to mix it half and half with water. I got just a little droplet of Elmer's glue, and I'm going to mix it a little bit with water. And I've got a clay cross here. I'm actually using the back of this clay cross because the front one got a little mushed up in the kiln. You are going to have a plain clay cross. Each one is handmade for you. I'm going to mix up my glue, and I'm going to show you two techniques. The decoupage, which means to cut paper and glue it down. And I'm going to show you using the regular Crayola markers. Most people have these markers at home. You could use a Sharpie marker too if you want. I've picked out some papers, and I've got something that's here that's from Chinatown, and I don't exactly know what the symbol means, but I want to cut part of this, so I'm going to trace my cross on it, cut it out, and then put glue on it and glue it down. The softer the paper, like a soft tissue paper, wrapping paper, origami paper, these papers are nice and soft and they glue down very, very well. If the paper is really stiff, like an oak tag or a heavy magazine paper, it's going to want to stick up at the edges. So you make your best choice about what kind of paper to use if you want to use decoupage, and maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to use markers. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to put some glue on this. It doesn't matter if my paper, if some of the glue is past where the paper is going to be. I can either wipe it off or I can just let it dry. Here, I'm going to glue this down. I'm going to rub it down, and I'm going to bend it over the edges. I can also put some glue right over the top of this. When Elmer's glue dries, it dries clear and shiny. These crosses are going to have a hanging loop glued to the back, a little piece of wire. It's not on there yet, but I think it'll be on there before you get your crosses. Okay. So I could continue on this way, and I could add little pieces of colored paper. I could do all kinds of designs. It doesn't matter how small you cut your papers. Just remember that you've got to put glue on the bigger piece, not the paper, but the cross. So we would always put the glue on your cross. And make sure that when you put this down, you put it on a piece of scrap paper or a hard kitchen counter or a piece of wax paper. Elmer's glue, if it dries on a counter, it's just going to chip off, or you can get it wet and it'll turn soft again, and then you can just scrape it off. But you might want to put it on a piece of wax paper. This is my studio table, so it can just stay right there and it's fine with me. Now I'm going to show you decorating with the regular Crayola marker. This type of marker loves the clay, and the clay loves the marker. The marker color soaks right into the clay, but I wouldn't want to get this cross wet. Like, I wouldn't do this technique if I was doing a pottery bowl, and I'm going to show you another video for a pottery bowl later on. And we would not use these markers because they just aren't permanent. But don't they look pretty? So when this cross is done, it's going to come back to me, and I'm going to put some clear, shiny varnish on it. It doesn't have to go back in the kiln. I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's shiny. You can keep pointing straight at the table, because I'm just going to grab one of the pretty keychains that this one was made by Michael. And this was not shiny when it was made, and now it's got varnish on it, and it really looks pretty boss, I think. Really nice and shiny, very glassy. And that's just a regular varnish that I'm going to paint on it. And it smells like varnish, so I don't want you to do it at home. I want to do it here for you. Okay, that's the clay cross project. You can either cut paper and glue it down or use markers to color it up. I'm so glad that you're willing to do these handcrafts for Heifer. Heifer.org is a wonderful global corporation that I think is going to end world hunger. If there was a flood or a hurricane or an earthquake or a war, The Heifer would go in and reconstitute the farm soil. They would give farm plants. They also teach gender equity, which means that men and women both, as heads of household, are expected to share in the work, the management, the responsibility, the ownership, and the profits. Some countries have a hard time with women sharing in the ownership and the profits. But Heifer insists that the families who work with them practice gender equity, which is a beautiful thing that they're doing. They work in all countries all over the world, including the United States. And when we share the work of our hands and the love from our hearts, we are helping people we may not ever get to meet. And pray that somebody would do that for us if we were so needy. So thank you. I love doing these crafts with you. Thank you for making art for Heifer.